You ever notice how the moment you stop caring, suddenly people start chasing you? There's a reason for that. And it works even on women who swore they weren't interested. I'm about to break down why pulling your attention away is one of the coldest, most effective moves you'll ever make. See, a lot of guys are out here trying too hard, giving too much, texting too much, chasing too much. And what happens? They get ignored, left on red, put in the friend zone, or worse, used for attention without anything real happening. What most people don't get is attention is power. And when you learn how to use it and when to take it away, you can literally shift how someone feels about you. Even someone who swears they don't want you. You know what nobody ever tells you? That sometimes the best way to get someone's attention isn't by doing more, it's by doing less. And not in a lazy, passive way, but in a cold, deliberate way. The kind that messes with people's heads, especially when they're used to being chased, praised, and put on a pedestal. Most people never realize how powerful attention is because they've spent their whole lives handing it out for free, hoping someone would finally appreciate it. What they don't see is that the more freely you give it, the less it's worth. The people who always have it start acting like they deserve it, like it's nothing special, like it'll always be there. And that's exactly why it stops working. What happens next is brutal. You get ignored, pushed to the side, labeled as nice or sweet or one of the good ones, but never actually chosen. You start wondering what went wrong, why you're invisible to the person you've been pouring your time, energy, and effort into. And here's where it gets interesting. The second you decide to stop, to pull back, without warning, without explanation, everything shifts. It's almost unsettling how predictable it is. Someone who barely noticed you suddenly starts noticing your absence. Someone who barely replied starts peeking at your stories, liking your old posts, or finding random reasons to reach out. It's not because they've magically realized your worth. No, it's because people, by nature, are addicted to attention. And when it disappears, their ego takes a hit, especially if they thought they had you wrapped around their finger. It's not love, it's not care, it's control. And when you disrupt that control, you're forcing them to question something they've taken for granted. This is where most people get it twisted. They think pulling back is about playing hard to get, about being unavailable to seem mysterious. It's not about that. It's about reclaiming your value. Because here's the ugly truth. If someone isn't showing interest, if they're using you for the occasional ego boost, they don't deserve constant access to you. No one does. And once you understand that your attention is a currency, you stop wasting it on people who treat it like loose change. What people crave the most is what they can't easily have, what feels slightly out of reach. That's the psychology of scarcity. When something feels rare, the brain assigns more value to it, and the more common it is, the quicker it gets dismissed. Now imagine this scenario. You meet someone, things are light, playful, kind of flirty. You start giving them more time, more compliments, more effort. At first, it feels good. They respond, maybe even flirt back. But gradually, the responses slow down. Texts get shorter, enthusiasm fades. Now you're sitting there, staring at your phone, rereading old conversations, trying to figure out what changed. The truth is, nothing dramatic happened. You just made yourself too available. You became predictable, too easy to get. In her mind, there's no tension, no uncertainty, no reason to chase. She knows you'll be there, waiting for her reply, reacting to her posts, being her fan. And let's be honest, nobody's fantasizing about the person who's always sitting in the crowd clapping. They're curious about the one who leaves early without saying goodbye. What happens next depends on you. Most people panic at this stage. They double down, text more, send long messages trying to explain their feelings, maybe even throw in a little jealousy or drama to get a reaction. It never works. It makes things worse. Because now not only are you predictable, but you're also emotionally needy, and nothing kills attraction faster than desperation. The smarter move, the colder, more effective move, is to stop giving her what she's come to expect, quietly, without any announcement. You stop initiating, you stop reacting, you stop making yourself emotionally available for free. And not in a childish, I'm mad at you way, but in a way that says, I've got other things to do. The beauty of this is in how subtle it is. You don't block, unfollow, or make dramatic social media statements. You just stop orbiting around her, and you'll notice the shift. It might not happen instantly, but it always comes. The random texts out of nowhere, the hey, haven't seen you around messages, the sudden compliments, or even little jabs to test your reaction. That's her ego reacting to the silence. She needs to know you're still there, still an option, still someone who thinks she's special. And when she doesn't get that instant reassurance, it starts to bother her in a way she can't fully explain. People always underestimate how attached others are to the attention they get. Even people who say they're not interested still feed off the validation. It's not about wanting you, it's about wanting to be wanted. There's a huge difference. And when you stop playing that role, you're forcing them to face something uncomfortable. That maybe they weren't as in control as they thought. That maybe your attention wasn't guaranteed. And that's where the ego takes a hit. This works especially well with people who are used to being chased, complimented, and pursued. The ones who always have options, who always know someone's watching. When you become the one who disappears, who stops playing the game, you instantly stand out. It's wild how quickly someone's energy can change once you withdraw yours. And it's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's just small things. A random, like a delayed text, a question about where you've been. And other times it's more obvious. A drunk text, an invite, a sudden burst of friendliness. Whatever form it takes, the message is the same. They noticed your absence. And that, right there, is where the shift happens. Because now they're thinking about you when they didn't plan to. Now they're wondering why you're not chasing anymore, who you might be giving your attention to, if you've moved on, if you stopped caring. And those thoughts mess with people more than any text or speech you could give. And this isn't something you need to fake or force either. The reason it works so well is because it's natural when you finally realize how pointless it is to chase someone who's only half interested. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely deciding that your time and attention are valuable, and if they don't see it, someone else eventually will. People can sense the difference between someone pulling back as a tactic and someone pulling back because they're done. That quiet indifference, the kind where you're not bitter, not dramatic, just unavailable. That's what hits differently. And the more you embrace that, the more you realize how powerful it is when you no longer need someone's reaction to feel good about yourself. What's funny is, most of the time, the moment you stop caring is the moment they start. It's like flipping a switch you didn't even know existed. The energy shifts. Suddenly, you're not on standby anymore. You're not at their disposal. And in a world where people are addicted to constant validation, where someone's always one swipe away from another admirer, the absence of your attention makes noise. It's like when a song you didn't even realize you liked stops playing. You might not have paid attention when it was on, but once it's gone, you feel the silence, and that silence makes people curious. They'll start wondering where you've been, what you've been doing, if you found someone better, if you're too busy for them now. It's not even about love or romance at this point. It's about control and ego. Nobody likes to lose control of a situation they thought they managed, especially when it comes to attention, because deep down, everyone likes to feel like they matter to someone, and when you stop confirming that, it unsettles them. That unsettling feeling grows in quiet moments, late at night when no one else is texting, when she scrolls past your name in her phone and hesitates, when she sees you in a post or story and realizes she has no idea what you're thinking or feeling anymore. And here's where it gets even more interesting. This doesn't just mess with her ego, it also starts to shift how she views you. See, when you were always there, you were predictable. You were safe. You were easy. But now, there's uncertainty. And nothing triggers curiosity faster than uncertainty. When someone no longer knows where they stand with you, they start filling in the blanks. Did he get tired of me? Is he talking to someone else? Why doesn't he react to my posts anymore? Was I wrong about him? These questions aren't just random thoughts. They're small ego bruises, tiny little doubts creeping into a mind that once felt in control. And doubts like that grow fast. People rarely appreciate what's too easy. It's just how we're wired. The harder something is to get, the more we tend to overvalue it. That's why people chase things they can't have and ignore what's right in front of them. By stepping away, you shift from being the guy who's always there to the one who's gone. And there's a strange kind of power in that. It forces her to look at you differently. Not because you did anything flashy, but because you stopped giving her the things she quietly expected. And that's a bigger deal than most people realize. Because attention, whether people admit it or not, is addictive. The moment it's gone, withdrawal hits. Even for someone who claimed not to care. This is the part where you might get tested. She might casually drop you a text, or reply to something meaningless, or comment on something random, just to see how you react. That's not by accident. That's a check-in. That's her ego making sure she still matters. It's subtle, but it's there. And the key is not to fold too quickly. Respond if you feel like it. Be cool. Be polite. But don't dive right back into giving her everything she was missing. The moment you make it obvious that you're still hooked, the dynamic resets. You're back to being predictable, back to being safe. And the tension you built by pulling away disappears. It's all about controlled detachment. You're not punishing anyone. You're not playing games. You're simply reclaiming your energy. And the beautiful thing is, once you get used to this, it stops feeling like a tactic. It becomes a natural standard. You stop needing to explain yourself. You stop worrying about what people think. You start moving in a way that says, if you're not matching my energy, you don't get my time. And people feel that. Even if they don't understand it, they sense the shift, that confidence, that ease, that lack of desperation. It's rare. And rarity is attractive. In fact, a lot of people don't realize how much of their problems in relationships, dating, and attraction come from giving too much to people who aren't giving anything back. It drains you. It makes you resentful. And it teaches people to expect the world from you without offering anything in return. The second you pull that back, you start protecting yourself. You stop bleeding out emotionally. And people who were used to draining your attention will feel it. Some will try to guilt you back into place. Others will suddenly become more interested. Either way, you win. Because now, you're in control of your own attention, your own time, your own emotions. The crazy thing is, you start to realize how little you actually cared about these people once you stop chasing them. When you're not wrapped up in the constant feedback loop of texting, waiting, reacting, and hoping, your mind clears up. You start seeing things for what they are. You notice who was just using you for attention. You notice how many conversations were one-sided, how many compliments went unreturned, how many times you were there for them when they wouldn't have done the same. And it doesn't even make you bitter. It makes you better. Because now you've learned something priceless. Attention is power, and not everyone deserves yours. What really surprises people is how quiet it gets when you stop giving away your attention like it's nothing. The people who were always so eager to text when they needed something or send you a little compliment when they wanted validation suddenly go silent. It's not because they've forgotten you. It's because they're confused. They don't know what to do without your steady supply of attention. And for a while, that silence can feel weird. You might even start doubting yourself, wondering if pulling back was the right move. But it's in those moments that you realize just how many connections in your life were built on uneven energy. When you stop feeding someone's ego, you start to see what was real and what was fake. The people who truly valued you will stay, with or without constant reassurance. The ones who were just hanging around because they liked the way you made them feel about themselves will drift. And that's a good thing, because the goal isn't to fill your life with people who only show up when it benefits them. The goal is to surround yourself with people who respect your presence and notice your absence, not because they lost a fan, but because they miss a person. Now, let's bring this back to romantic dynamics, because this is where it hits hardest. In dating, especially when it comes to women who are constantly getting attention, whether it's online, in person, or through social media, most guys don't stand out. They do the same things, say the same things, react the same way. They shower them with compliments, laugh at every joke, respond instantly to every text, and basically serve themselves up on a platter. And the truth is, while it might seem sweet or romantic in movies, in real life it kills mystery, it kills tension, and it kills attraction. Because people don't want someone who seems desperate for their approval. They're drawn to people who are comfortable enough in themselves that they don't need to be constantly chasing, constantly proving their worth. When you're too available, it signals that you don't have much else going on, that you're waiting around, hoping to be picked. And while it might sound harsh, nobody wants what everyone can easily have. That's not how human psychology works. We're wired to desire things that feel exclusive, things that require effort, things that challenge us just a little. By withdrawing your attention, by stepping back and letting silence do the talking, you become that challenge. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you genuinely value your peace more than chasing someone who isn't matching your effort. And the effect is powerful. It forces the other person to either step up or step out. Either way, you win. If they step up, it means they actually care about the connection. If they don't, it means you dodged wasting more time on someone who wasn't invested to begin with. And what's even better is that this doesn't just improve how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. You start to realize you don't need constant validation from people who barely value you. You start enjoying your own space, your own hobbies, your own time, without wondering what someone else is thinking. And that kind of independence, that quiet self-respect, is rare. It naturally makes you more attractive, not just to the person you pulled away from, but to everyone else around you too. Because people can sense when someone's not desperate. They can feel when you're moving through life with confidence without needing constant approval. It changes the energy in every room you walk into, every conversation you have. You go from being the nice guy who's always around to the guy who's hard to figure out, the one people want to know more about. And that shift isn't about faking it. It's about genuinely choosing yourself over situations that don't serve you. This is something a lot of guys never experience because they're too afraid to pull back. They think if they stop texting, stop liking every post, stop chasing, the girl will forget them. And sometimes she will. But if she does, it means she was never really into you in the first place. She was just into how you made her feel about herself. And if that's all it ever was, you're better off without it. The truth is, people don't forget the ones who made them feel uncertain. They remember the ones who left a question mark, the ones who didn't play along, the ones who made them wonder. And that's what withdrawing your attention does. It turns certainty into curiosity. It replaces comfort with a little discomfort. And in the world of attraction, discomfort is powerful. It makes people think about you when they didn't plan to. It makes them replay conversations, scroll through old messages, wonder what you're doing now that you're not chasing them anymore. And those little moments of curiosity are where attraction lives. Because people don't chase what's already theirs. They chase what they feel they're losing. The longer you hold your ground, the clearer things get. The people who actually care start reaching out for real reasons, not just to test if you're still around. The people who don't fall away quietly. Either outcome is a win, because it leaves you surrounded by people who actually want to be there, not just those using you to boost their ego. And once you see how good that feels, you'll never go back to overgiving. You'll never go back to being the predictable, always available option because you'll know the difference between being wanted and being used. And here's the thing, the real flex isn't in getting attention back, it's in getting to a place where you don't need it, where someone's sudden interest, their random check ins, their half hearted attempts to reel you back in don't phase you because you've built a life, a mindset, and a peace that isn't dependent on whether someone likes your photo or sends you a miss you text. And ironically, that's when they want you more. Not because you're playing a game, but because real detachment is rare. And people are naturally drawn to what feels rare. The beautiful part is that by the time they finally come around, you might not even care anymore. And that's not bitterness, that's growth. Because when you stop pouring your attention into people who don't value it, you free yourself up to focus on things that actually move your life forward. You start paying attention to the people who notice your absence without needing to be reminded. The people who check in because they care, not because they're bored. And it's in those spaces that real connection happens. Not the shallow kind based on compliments and reactions, but the solid kind built on respect and mutual energy. You'll notice how much calmer your life feels. No more overthinking messages, no more waiting on replies, no more putting your plans on hold for someone who might or might not show up. You start moving with confidence, knowing that your value doesn't decrease just because someone else couldn't see it. And this is where real attraction starts to form, not based on neediness or scarcity, but based on confidence and self-control. Because when you have the strength to withdraw your attention and mean it, people realize you're not like the rest. They'll test it. Make no mistake, some people will try to push your buttons just to see if you'll fold. Maybe it'll be a casual message pretending like nothing happened. Maybe it'll be a late night like on an old post, or they'll randomly ask how you've been. Not because they miss you, but because they miss the version of themselves you used to reflect back to them. And in those moments, you'll realize how predictable those moves are. How obvious it is when someone's fishing for your attention without offering anything real in return. And you won't even be mad about it. You'll just recognize it for what it is, a test. And passing that test is simple. You don't need to react. You don't need to ignore them either, unless you want to. You just stay grounded. Answer if you feel like it, but don't let them pull you back into the old dynamic where you were the eager one, the overly available one. Because the moment you do, you reset the pattern, and you worked too hard to undo that, to fall right back into it. What's cool is, when you stay in control of your attention, you actually have more fun. You meet new people. You stop clinging to old possibilities. You start to see how many other doors open when you're not fixated on one. And the more you move like someone who doesn't need anyone's approval to feel good, the more people notice you. Not because you're loud about it, but because confidence in silence is powerful. It's that rare kind of energy that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't need to explain itself. And people are naturally pulled toward that. Even the ones who didn't appreciate you before start paying attention. They notice how your energy has changed, how you're not as quick to reply, how you're not showing up the way you used to, and it creates a different kind of tension. One where they're now the one wondering if they still have access to you. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. The difference now is that it's your choice, not theirs. You've taken back control of the one thing that people will always value most, your attention. Because attention isn't just about messages and compliments. It's about presence. It's about energy. When you give it freely to people who don't earn it, you cheapen it. But when you protect it, when you reserve it for people who actually deserve to be in your life, it becomes something powerful. And people sense that. They notice when you're no longer the easy option. And it makes them rethink how they treated you. It makes them question what they lost. And sometimes they'll come back. Sometimes they won't. Either way, you're good. Because you're no longer chasing, hoping, or waiting. You're choosing. And there's a big difference. between being chosen and choosing. One makes you powerless, the other puts you in control. And once you taste what it feels like to move on your own terms, to withdraw your attention when it's not respected, you'll never want to go back. Because the peace that comes with not being emotionally available for people who don't value you is worth more than whatever temporary high you get from their attention. So if you're in a situation right now where you feel like you're chasing, overgiving, or waiting for someone to notice you, stop, pull back, withdraw your attention, not to manipulate them, not to play games, but because you deserve to see what happens when you stop handing your energy to people who haven't earned it. You'll be surprised how quiet your world gets at first. But in that quiet, you'll hear something you've been missing for a long time, your own peace. And that's when you realize you weren't losing anything by stepping back. You were finally gaining yourself. Watch the next video.